going on? It's G Money, the Push on Taste Radio. Today I have a purist with me. And first off, there's no salsa act when I talk about my next guest, Rochester, New York's Venezuelan wordsmith, Emilio Rojas.
Oh, wow. That's a nice intro, bro.
All right. No salsa. I heard you say like everything. No, man. Yeah, look, man, I got to get with the intro.
Chamo de Venezuela. All right. I can dig it.
Look, we're putting that out there. So
big prayers to Venezuela.
Absolutely. And that's dope that you represented Venezuela. So I've done a lot of these, and I haven't mentioned this, but I'm half Costa Rican. Like,
oh, we neighbors. We half neighbors. Yeah.
Panama right there, Costa Rica, Puerto Limon, you know. I don't speak a lick of Spanish.
You said Puerto Limon.
Puerto Limon.
No, that's all right.
You know? So with that, I'm going to start like this. What was your introduction to hip hop?
Oh, shit.
God.
Like as a kid?
However you want to take that.
Oh, man. I think it was like my older sister. She had a boyfriend who had like a Ghetto Boys tape, I think.
Ghetto Boys.
Like I think it was like the one where Mine's playing tricks on me. I think. I'm not sure.
You know, look, that's a real answer though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And from there, it's just like, you know, hip hop is a very compelling form of music. It's hard to leave once you're in.
Before we started, we were talking about the De La Soul and the Gang Starr and whatnot, and you know, with this being 50 years of hip hop, right, and just so much going. But we'll dig into those layers. But so Ghetto Boys was the introduction. When do you say you developed a passion for storytelling?
Oh shit, it's another hard one. I don't know if I have a passion for storytelling. I tell a lot of stories.
You do.
It just happens. I don't know if it's like it's just one of those things. Like I just go towards it.
So
I don't know.
You discover the skill.
The skill set? I think it just happened over time. You know, like when you grow up and you start like making music, writing your raps or whatever, you know, it's always like ciphers at first, battles, like a lot of like not bullshit, but a lot of like the braggadocio, like ego shit. Yeah. And I remember I was talking with my boy Maurice, big shouts to Mo. He was a producer from Rochester. And he was like, one day we were in his house and he was making beats. And he was like, yo, man, you're dope. I was like, oh, thank you. He's like, yeah, but what story are you telling? And that's like something that really stuck with me. Like my whole life. Like even if it's a record that's kind of not about something, like what can I give it to make it like have a moment that's relatable or like put people in a space? Like that's what I enjoy doing. All my favorite artists they excel at that. Like Nas or even like Drake will say some sick shit like that puts you in a moment. I got my ex-girl standing with my next girl standing with, you know what I'm saying? Like all those fucking moments are what really make the lyrics of an artist stand out to me. So I always try to create those. So I think that's just what happened. You
do that well. Relatability is definitely one of your strong points. And going back to like Breaking Point and saying with that, like even listening to it now, just that time piece in history, when you hear even the beat selection and then how you diving into the songs, like I was listening to it, but I had my daughter in the car and I said, oh, Lord have mercy, because you went from one, the next thing you know, I smell like pussy and cologne. I was like, yo. But then you'll switch up later on like Middle Finger and those records even now. It's like, damn, you were touching on like the pulse of what's happening even in current time.
Well, it's crazy that like police have always just been fuckery.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I think that's just the pulse of police work. Pussy and Cologne, admittedly, is not like my favorite record of mine.
Yeah, neither mine. I had to skip it because of my daughter.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You know, if I were to go back into my catalog, it would be a record that I wouldn't unmake it, but it was a record that was a product of a certain situation at a certain time. You know, it felt like a homework assignment at the time.
It's like tattoos. You know, you may have one, and then look, I've put shit on my body cover. Some things I'm like, look, I'm leaving it with it. It's still part of the story.
Yeah,
but that's nothing compared to the catalog that you're putting.
Exactly, and that was like a time where we were like dealing with like some bigger shit, and we were trying to show that we can move in that space.
Look, Jay-Z had the Sunshine video. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I love Sunshine the record, but
Nas had Oochie Wally.
Ooh, big time. Yeah. I like Oochie Wally too.
I like Oochie Wally. It's a great record. I'm just saying. You know?
Exactly.
It doesn't always have to be Middle Finger or
Exactly.
If I Ruled the World.
Now talking about Rochester, New York, right? The entire upstate has been on a tear for several years. Been that way, you know, but the resurgence in Buffalo and Rochester is like the two cities that have always been pushed up there at the forefront of the wave. Now, why do you feel, or do you feel that it's taken so long, like nationally, even down in the city, for Upstate to get the recognition that it deserves when it comes to?
I mean, I think, all right, so we're talking about Griselda and like Trust, right? Big shouts to both of those movements. They're
and you know, that's
insanely insane.
And obviously, even going back to Green Lantern.
Oh, Green, but Green's involved with both of those movements. Yeah.
Emilio, all of you, the Stoves, everybody. Like, I'm a big fan of the Upstate movement, the Shane Walls, everybody. So, like, why do you feel it's taking so long?
I think Upstate is a region that does not have a lot of industry to support the talent. And with the, you know, we had to learn, there was nobody there like to show anybody the ropes. So as the industry shifted to more like online and the online presence, we just learned through executing and through failure. You know, it was trial by fire. So like, and if you're in New York, like I think the reason I was able to accomplish so much is because I relocated. And I was able to be in New York and in the mix and around the people that knew where to put my music to make sure the most eyes and ears were exposed to it, you know? But in Rochester, there's not really, or at least for a long time, there wasn't a lot of people who had that knowledge and who had that access. So I think, you know, the people that are doing things and making the shit crack now, it just took them a long time or a longer time because they had to create, they really got that shit out the mud. Like they had to create it. They created their own lane and just stuck to it. Like I know a lot of them, me, myself included, sometimes I feel like, you know, not a lot of people helped us. So it's like, we did shit on our own. So like, we're going to keep doing shit on our own. Like, yeah.
This is the beautiful thing about like interviewing you, and for the listeners who are already familiar, but the ones who don't, every question I pretty much can pull out of this interview is really in the music anyway. Like I forget the song you said, yo, I left Rochester, went to Washington Heights, I'm paying triple the rent for double the crime or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was I'm paying double the rent to live with triple the crime.
Triple the crime.
That was Breaking Point, the first Breaking Point.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But you're detailing everything every step of the way. And so from that time when you transitioned from New York and you went to LA, right?
Yeah, so I was in Rochester, I moved to New York, I lived in the Heights for like 10 years and then I moved to LA. Okay. So yeah, LA's cool.
yeah, you know what's so funny about that?
I like to skateboard. It's nice, sunny.
Yeah. You know what? I read an article, and you spoke about your move to LA and how you felt everyone was judged by their utility or their usefulness.
Yeah, it's a transactional environment.
You know what I mean? Like, how many followers do I need to be a friend type shit?
Oh yeah, fuck that. Yeah.
So how do you navigate through that fake shit, whether it's LA, New York, anywhere? Like
I don't. The older I get, like the more seasoned I get, the more comfortable I get in my skin and like in tune with what my goals are and what I want out of life. Not even just music, like put my career aside, but like we do what we do in our lives to be happy and to make sure that we are able to provide happiness and comfort for the people that we love, right? That's like all that matters at the end of the day, at least to me. And I had to decide what those things were. And once I figured out what those things were to me, it really simplified things. Now, just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, but at least I'm able to put everything in like a space where I could identify it and then go do what I need to do to try to make things happen. So by doing that, I was able to eliminate all the shit that didn't directly contribute to the things that I value. So if I'm in a situation or dealing with anybody or a company or whatever I'm dealing with, and it doesn't show signs of like being fulfilling or like leading me to fulfillment, I'm just not gonna fuck with it. I just don't care. You know, like I'm done. Like I don't want to keep up with the Joneses. I don't care about the latest, greatest. I don't want to fucking wear gallery department. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care about, you know, whatever Nike's dropping on the fucking sneakers app next week. I don't care anymore. You know, like I just want to live my life, travel. Like I've lived a blessed life. I don't need to, you know, chase some shit that I don't really value. Because you end up in this cycle where you keep trying to compete with shit And you're competing for what? For some shit that doesn't even satisfy you, just so you could feel valuable in the space. But it's a space you don't even value. So why do you care if you're valuable in it?
You're wasting time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I spend a lot of time on this station with our team talking about that. It's the same kind of fulfillment that I get when I'm doing an interview or whatnot. There are a lot of different platforms and individuals, and great. Like, there might be clickbait questions or hot takes, and that's not what I do this for. That's not interesting to me. Like, the stories, the music, you know, the culture is above all. Yeah. So this is not a popularity contest, and everyone can do what they do. But I enjoy, you know, the music first and foremost.
Well, that's a blessing, bro. That's amazing. There's a lot of those like clickbait journalists out there, you know, and you could tell. Yeah. Like, here are the top 10 skinny rappers of 2022. All right. Like,
you know, but that's why I'm here with you and taking my time with this. So let's get into that. So you're a lyricist that's dropped quality work for over a decade, man. Critically acclaimed bodies of work. We're talking about Breaking Point being one of them. And you did take a little hiatus in between, right? Between, did Breaking Point. There was another project, Zero, it escapes my mind.
ZFG,
ZFG.
Yeah.
But between then and life gets in the way, right? There's a little break in between.
Yeah, I'm foggy on the dates, but there were a couple starts and stops. Like, we were, I was with Violator for a little bit. Chris Lighty, rest in peace. When he passed, it kind of, what's the word? It disrupted my situation. I know that's fucking selfish. I don't mean to say it like that, but it made things complicated in a way that I wasn't prepared for. Mm-hmm. You know, so I had to adjust emotionally and also adjust my business to be able to continue to output. And then because of like the adjustments that I made, other complicated situations arose that I I took out of like, not desperation, but panic, you know? So it just made things a little difficult for a little while, but I'm back independent now and I feel good. Yeah.
The titles of your projects, and it's life got in the way, life gets in the way, and it's just powerful because you detail a lot of it and it's still fun, but those records, whether it's about how you're feeling about situation, friends, just very clever. And then always like the songs, my favorites tend to be like about the women.
Yeah.
Always. Like, that's just been my thing for anybody because I relate all the time on top of everything else. But, you know, you've compared to this record industry label system to a predatory loan business.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you've been independent for a long time, but you've recently partnered with a marketing company?
Oh, no, we terminated partnership with that on good terms.
On good terms?
Yeah, we just, you know, people don't always have necessarily the same vision.
Well, isn't that the beauty of being able to cut these deals and cut ties when you're ready?
Yeah, you try some things out. You feel like, is it a fit? Is it not a fit? And you can continue the situation, or you could, you know.
And that's true freedom.
Yeah.
That's true freedom. Being able to make the decisions, make the calls, move if the business isn't right for you so you can continue to move on. Yep. You know, I've heard you say before, like, yo, if I record a song with my guys and I like the way the song goes, I don't give a fuck how much clout you have is going out. Like, we're putting the music out.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the struggle you get into a lot of times with like different label systems. Like, you don't always have like, they'll give you creative control, but just because you can control whether or not you release a record doesn't mean it's going to be supported. Yeah. And the whole reason you sign to a label is because you want that machine behind you. So if you're dropping a record through them and they're not fucking opening the marketing bag, then yeah, you have creative control, but do you really? Yeah. You know?
It's a lot going on, man. Like, we're talking about other projects, and I told you one of my favorites was Recession Proof 2, Rod Richards. Oh, I forgot about that. I'm like, damn, that's a great body of work. He got so many rods. He's like, y'all forgot about that.
I did forget about it. Yeah. That was my get out of my deal project.
Yeah, well, it's a great project.
Well,
and again, it's a timestamp. Like, the things in the subject matter that you're talking about, like even going from the breaking point to the different ones, you can hear the maturity, you can hear the different tone, and then you're still having fun. But again, the subject matter, for me, that's important because especially when you're with the artist, no matter what age you get with them, right? You're young. And as they start to mature and grow and their subject matter changes, it's like almost like you're going through the same things as your life changes and your viewpoint on things. Right?
You guys get to mature together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Or maybe. It depends on the listener and the artist.
Yeah, some niggas
that's a fact.
They still backwards with it. But now, so you dropped I've been enjoying some of the singles and the videos. Creep with Me.
I like Creep.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, got the demons out there having fun.
That's fun.
All right, so are you enjoying this process? Like, are you enjoying this leg of the journey right now? Like, having fun doing it?
Yeah, I'm just having fun because I remember there was a moment in time where I was like sitting with one of my producer homies, and he's a big producer. He's done like tons of huge records for like Rick Ross, Drake, like big fucking records. Mm-hmm. And he was always telling me like, yo, you need to dumb it down. And I tried. Like, yo, I legit tried. I'm not going to act like I didn't try. And two things happened. One, I was not satisfied. I was not fulfilled. So that goes back to what we were saying before, like about doing things that I want to do because I feel like compelled spiritually, right? And two, like, it just wasn't telegraphing authentically. So now that I'm back in this space where like, I'm not worried about like, all right, admittedly, Creep With Me is not like a super intellectual record, but it's barred up, and there are moments where like, you know, Dead in the Middle where I flip the punch shit, and it's like,
triplets and quadruplets.
Yeah, like, so, you know, like a lot of the homies, you know, like all that shit, like there's like a lot of like rapidy rap shit in there, and I like doing that. So I'm gonna just do it, you know, like why the fuck not? Otherwise, if I didn't want to do like what I did, I would do something else. Yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun. To answer your question, very long-winded.
It looks like you're having the fun. You know, Creep With Me, Green Card, you talking shit on that. And
yeah, Green Card's a fun one too.
All right, so are these songs going to be on Breaking Point too?
Yeah, those two definitely, yeah.
All right, and that's what we're getting to. Is it 10 years? 10 years since the release?
I have no fucking idea.
I think so.
Maybe 10 years. All right, good. Yeah, okay, so we're going to act like it's intentionally 10 years.
So why now?
I just felt like I was at that point. You know, like, again, I'm just at that point where I just don't give a fuck. And that's where I was at then. And I was just like, I'm feeling a certain way again. So let me like express it and try to, like, I already feel like I'm tapping into that space. So let me just like align it with that.
So will there be like a continuation of the story, the theme, the music, the style, or?
So there's a Breaking Point 2 record on there. It's more like a mixtape. Like the records weren't created deliberately with a narrative in mind, but I think sonically it's a little more lyrical. It's a little more aggressive, just like the original Breaking Point. There's not like, you know, it's like you said you like the girl records. I'm sorry, bro. It means you're toxic like me.
Very.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, it's back. It's a return to the toxic Emilio bullshit. You know, and
pussy and cologne too?
Yeah, no pussy and cologne. I'm stuttering over here like Nah, I did a remake of Breaking Point, not a remake. I did a sequel to Breaking Point, a sequel to Spite. There's 2 toxic relationship records on there.
Oh yes.
One of them is
yes, but you know, I love
yeah. One of them is Not What You Want, the one that you're just quoting off camera. And then we have like Creep With Me it's hard. Yeah, it is. You know, and then Green Card's like dabbles in the politics, but doesn't really get too political. Like, I talk my shit without really like going too in depth because I'm trying to set it up. Yeah. You know.
So I did have an opportunity to hear another record, and it started off. If you pray on my, I had to tell Reggie. Matter of fact, I was like, "Yo, did you hear that record? Did you hear what he said? If you pray on my downfall, who's going to save you? If God's on my side, then who do you pray to?" Now that's real, right? Is that Castle in Hell?
That's the sequel to Breaking Point. Breaking Point 2, Castle in Hell.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. The tone switching on that and everything. So, yeah, talk to me about that record.
So it was, you know, it's easy. That's what I was feeling like the first Breaking Point. Like, people were out to get me, you know, like almost like I was paranoid. Not necessarily like paranoid, but, you know, just you feel like motherfuckers have ulterior motives. Yeah. And that's where I was feeling. That's how I was feeling when I wrote this record. Like, people are just like expecting failure. They have like these fucked up expectations. Like, well, fuck y'all. Like, if that's what you expect, well, like, all right, well, this is who I got rocking with me. So like, give me your best shot. That's what it is. So that was kind of the mentality. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
You already have it.
Well, no. I'm talking about the full project. I don't have the whole project.
Oh, you just got the song?
Yeah. Man.
Oh, shit. I thought we sent the whole
thing.
Over,
man. Send the whole thing. I've been talking to you about what's going on. I said, they gave me a sample. Everybody else give me the whole motherfucking project.
Oh, that's funny as fuck.
Yeah, but
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I got you. Seriously, brother. Seriously.
I got you. No
it was
that.
Yeah, but
that's funny.
I heard that. It was one of those phone calls. I said, yo, you heard that shit? You heard the record? Yeah, I hear what you said. And then, because that resonated with me.
When I came up with that line, I called my boy Nick. I was like, because Nick's an incredible songwriter. Big shouts to Nick. And I was like, yo, I got these lines. I needed to come up with a melody for them because we didn't have a beat, nothing. I was just like, these lines just kept sticking in my head. Like, that's crazy, right? He's like, yeah, it's fucking good. And I was like, well, help me build off the lines because we were writing for the singer. And then he came up with some shit. And then the singer, the homie Seth, Drug the Kid's his name. He came up with the, I've been cast out of heaven for a castle in hell line, which is also super powerful. Yeah. So I'm just, I was hyped. That hook, it feels epic. It feels like it could be like in a Marvel movie or something. Yeah.
Excited about the project. I told you, when I get a chance to sit down, especially with lyricists that I truly appreciate, then it always leads to a great conversation for me personally.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
So now let's get into some other things, man. Latin music culture is getting bigger every year.
Massive
globally, right? And I mentioned in the intro earlier in your career, you see flack for using your real name, right?
Yep.
They didn't want you to use your real name. Do you still see it now in 2023 as an enabler or an advantage?
I think right now there's a lot of excitement over the exotic Latino, not the homegrown Latino. So, I might be Venezuelan and my name might be Emilio Rojas, but I'm not making bachata, I'm not making dembow, I'm not making Latin trap, I'm not making reggaeton. So, do I feel like there's an advantage? No. I still think as a hip hop artist, I think for some reason, even though like Latinos were very much a part of hip hop culture from the beginning, I don't know if marginalized, I don't think we've been marginalized. But I think we haven't been as successful as carving out a space for ourselves in hip hop culture. Because we tend to like lean into the exotic, like the Daddy Yankee or the Wisin y Yandel. Like I remember sitting in meetings like with fucking Bad Boy and shit, like sitting across the table with the one of the executives at Bad Boy, like, yo, you need to do records with Wisin y Yandel and Daddy Yankee. I'm like, no, the fuck I don't. And it's like, to me, that was a Latino telling me this, and it was like, it just shows you that there's a lack of understanding for like the necessity for us in the space, even by our own people, which is crazy because the same people that listen to Daddy Yankee, they listen to Drake, they listen to Kendrick, they listen to J. Cole. So we obviously want representation, we want the Latin voice to be heard, but for whatever reason, the music industry is lagging on that. So I don't necessarily feel like it's a benefit being an English language rapping Spanish artist.
Yeah. I've asked myself that question, like, why are the American-born Latin musicians not getting the same opportunities, or it's taking harder for them to get the global or national recognition?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, look, I get it with black folks. I go talk to a Nigerian, they consider me half black because I'm African American, so it's the same shit, but niggas love Uzi Vert though.
I mean, I think it's good though, because like ultimately like hip hop is black culture, right? So any space that we get, we're blessed to have, so we have to understand that like, even though we might have contributed, it's still not ours, and we're still like just a part of it, But I know there are so many of us. So it's like why? It's like when I'm doing a record, like why are you putting me on this like the Spanish playlist? Like why can't you just put me on like the rap playlist? Because like I rap good.
That's crazy, so it's
man. Yeah.
That's crazy to me because again, call New York City the Mecca of hip hop, the birthplace of it. If you're from here, you understand that the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the blacks, we're all in one community.
Yeah, especially in the Bronx.
What? Heavy. Yeah. There's separation, but we're all one. So with that being said, hip-hop celebrating its 50th birthday, right? What do you feel, personally, is the Latin community's contribution to the culture? even if it may not be fully represented. We know the puns, we know the Fat Joes, the Joels, you, but what do you feel overall has been the biggest contribution to hip hop?
I mean, I think it's that. I think it's like, you know, when you talk about, so there's a lot of like colorism in like Hispanic culture too, right? Like you have like diaspora people who are like black.
Like me.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you have Dominicans that are black, Panamanians that are black. And it's like a lot of like the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans that contributed to hip hop culture, they were black. So it's like, I don't know if it's necessarily fair or like right to say that like the contributions were specifically Latino when they came from diaspora people, because it's like, then you're editing a whole part of their racial identity out, which is what they've been struggling with this whole time. Like I'm very white passing, you know? So like, I personally don't really even like to speak about this because it's not, I don't feel like it's my place, but I know that like a lot of the homies that are Puerto Rican or Dominican or whatever, they're quite clearly like African as well. And it's like, you can't marginalize that because you're trying to like carve your own space out in a culture that's black. So I just think it's tricky. It's just really hard to quantify.
It is. It is. Well, I'll tell you what. I appreciate and love your contribution, the Latin community, and I felt it as well, right? I told him, you know, I'm Costa Rican. I'm half Costa Rican, speak Spanish. You know, he left me. I get treated. I'm black. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it goes.
But you still feel like part of you is Costa Rican. Yeah. Racial identity is crazy. That's why I don't like to talk about it, because I don't want to marginalize anybody. So I'm just like, yeah.
Other black, you know, other. So, you know, but you know, I really appreciate the conversation, the chance to sit down with you, and I'm looking forward to the complete body of work.
Thank you.
You know, Creep with Me Again, and all of the records that are leading up to it outside of the project are. I heard you saying it earlier, going back on tour. When do you ever come off tour, it seems?
Well, I've been off tour for like at least all of COVID because I just had to get my shit organized. So tour canceled before COVID. Now we're leaving the 6th, April 6th? April 6th. So I'll be gone for like a month, and then I'm trying to stay on the road as much as possible because you want to build with the fans. Like that's the most important thing, is just human interaction, you know. There's nothing more valuable.
Still planning on performing without the shoes on, your socks?
I always do it. I don't see before. So look, I used to wear like a lot of. I used to be a big time sneakerhead. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? So I don't know if you can see these. These are skateboard shoes, right? Because I started skating like again because I skated my whole life, and again it goes back to the things that make me happy, right? Like I just realized I don't give a fuck about sneakers. Yeah. So like, I have all these fucking Jordans and all these shit. Right? So many.
Fuck me up. I wore the ones today.
You were trying to have a bonding moment and shit. I'm hearing dirty ass Adidas. Yeah, see, it's like, it just doesn't make me happy to chase those things. So when I used to take my sneakers off on stage, it wasn't a comfort thing. It was because I was trying to not crease my sneakers because I was a dickhead. So, you know what I mean? Like, now I'm just like, maybe I don't want to dirty my white socks on this nasty ass stale beer covered stage. Whoever fucking punk musician puked on it 2 nights before and shit. You know what I mean? Like, let me just I'm going to see how this tour goes with my shoes on. I think I'm going to feel it out.
Yo, look, I'm trying to be at one of the shows, man. We might throw some Jordan ones off. I still fuck with the ones.
I fuck with them too, but I don't care to keep up with them anymore. Yeah.
That's the difference, man. Like, yo, this is a hell of an interview. This may be one of my best and favorite. Before we get out of here, Billy, let the listeners, the fans, the people that adore you know how they can get in contact.
You can follow me at Emilio Rojas, EMILIO ROJAS. All platforms, I think, except for maybe Facebook. I don't know. If you're looking for me on Facebook, you're a little too old to be looking for me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Yo, look, Breaking Point 2 out now. I got him to take his shoe off and he ain't even performing. That's some ill shit, man. G Money, The Push, Taste Radio.